The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily represent those of this station or its management. It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs.
Good morning and welcome to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. I'm Gene Sullivan.
And I'm Tony Crockett. How's it going this week, Gene?
Just fine.
Good.
I was just saying, I was noticing you look like you're just dragging a little bit this week. It's been tough, a long week.
Yeah,
Long
in some
days?
ways. You know what? The cold weather really gets to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't it get to you sometimes? I think it takes so much energy to fight off those sub-zero temperatures. That, and I got up earlier than normal.
You were doing some teaching, right?
I did. I spoke to a group in Apple Valley. They're doing their crime-free housing training for property managers, and there were some landlords there too.
So they asked you to teach a little bit.
Yep. I talked about
Okay.
applications and screening.
Okay. But long week.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it is great to have you guys with us here today on Where You Live. We have a great show in store for you. Before we get any further, I'd like to say that, of course, we are broadcasting from the Natural Green Lawn and Landscape Studios. Remember, Natural Green is a locally owned and operated lawn, landscape, and care company, also doing snow plowing, too, this time of year. Their mission is to use the most environmentally sensitive products available to keep your lawn landscape looking lush, beautiful, while still healthy for both people and pets. You want to give them a call. They will give you great results. Their number, 763-213-2410. We're also brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. Let's begin with our first story in property management in the news. Property management in the news, of course, is brought to you by Home Furniture and Abbey Floor Coverings. Their showrooms are staffed with professionals who will help you choose what you need to fit both your lifestyle and budget. Whatever you need, chances are they'll have what you're looking for. Now, if you wish to avail yourself of some special pricing and discounts you won't find anywhere else, all Where You Live listeners can call Customer Service Coordinator Lori Matson. Her number, 952-224-2663. That number again, 952-224-2663, and ask for your Where You Live with Gene and Tony special pricing. Our first story comes from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, and it's entitled, "A Tow Truck Death Investigation May Have Been Complicated by a Delay with the Police." And this is really a tragic story.
It is.
That just shouldn't have happened. And here is what has happened. And Tony, if I'm missing anything, please help me fill in the blanks. It appears that there was a gentleman by the name of Elias Kanwufine, I think is his name, and he is the dean of graduate school at Kaiser University down in Florida. And he lives in a homeowners association. The homeowners association, if you take a look at pictures of the property, single-family detached home. So you have a double-car garage in front of the home.
Uh-huh.
You have a driveway for two cars. And then in front of that, there is a sidewalk.
There's a sidewalk running down the block.
The block. Apparently, when he came home one day, his wife had a car in one of those spots.
On the driveway.
She was doing some teaching and had someone in the other spot. Now, the homeowner association says you can't park on the streets anywhere. So he instead parked on the sidewalk.
Sounds like he pulled in, I've done it myself.
Yeah.
He pulled in behind the cars that were parked in the driveway, and so he was straddling the sidewalk. He was off the street, I'm guessing, or almost.
Almost
Almost off the street. But he was straddling the sidewalk, or
Yes.
over the sidewalk.
All right. And so what ended up happening was the homeowner association had a tow truck that came out, picked up his car. Now, when the car was being picked up, one of the neighbors ran over to the home and said,
Elias.
I think you need to know they're getting ready to take your car. First one on the scene running out of the house was Elias's wife, and her name was Francesca. And she went out and she said, wait, don't do this. My husband will be out in a moment. She rushes back in. The car is up on the truck now, and the guy is starting to leave when all of a sudden he hears this pounding on the window, and Elias Kanwufine, the homeowner, had jumped up on the side of the truck on the runner and was pounding on the door to stop and let his car go. What happens next, we don't know quite sure. But
the results were
But
tragic.
the result was that, yes, he ended up falling off of the runner, and his own car drove over him.
Pulled over him, yeah.
The ambulance was called, and within 2 hours, he was pronounced dead by the time he got to the hospital.
So the thrust of the story in Fort Lauderdale is not the same thrust that we took from the story. The story in the paper was about the fact that the police didn't recognize it as a potential homicide at first, so they didn't treat it as a crime scene until after he died.
Yes.
That's the thrust of this article. But what piqued our interest was it occurred in a homeowners association, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And the comments of neighbors.
And it's the comments, and I guess even the writing of
the media.
of the media with the story and how they portray it. And I think that they have done a great disservice here, as the medias want to do.
That's right.
Because they're more interested in what's going to sell a newspaper, what's going to create interest, rather than the facts. And what they do in this story, I think, is almost criminal, in that they make everybody else bad and at fault here, and they are guilty before.
Well, right. They always want to find a
innocence.
scapegoat,
Yeah.
always, because that's what people like to listen to. It piques our interest. We're listening to the news, and all of a sudden we hear about some poor person who was killed in this accident, and then the media goes around and interviews neighbors. And what do you think about this? And whose fault is it? It's looking for blame. It's looking for finding fault with someone. And of course, we almost all have an opinion about things like this, right?
And everybody will give their opinion, but instead of even offering that these are the opinions, the way it is written, I think it just really creates, and you get the impression that there is this predatory approach that the association and this in cahoots with this towing company have in just making lives miserable for the homeowners,
as if that were
in
the
this
goal.
association.
One neighbor is quoted as saying, "The trucks surf the neighborhood to make money. They've been harassing this community for years." Do tow truck drivers go out, just willy-nilly into communities for no reason and pull cars off the street?
It has been my experience that most of the time, and I think yours too, they are asked to come out.
I think always. Someone has contracted with them or has set up services with them. Sometimes it's the city.
Yeah.
Has the tow truck drivers driving the streets to tow away illegal parkers, right?
Yeah.
And homeowners associations do the same thing. They may contract with a towing company to monitor their streets and their parking.
And
for
so,
very legitimate reasons.
Yes, because you cannot, if without that contract in place or that agreement, you can't do this, because we're talking about this is a part of the property that is privately owned by the association, and you can't pull people from private property unless the owners of that property ask you to do so.
There you go.
And in this case, it begs the question, if you don't have this happening, you have other people who say, oh, the association isn't doing anything, right? They just let people park anywhere that they want to, and I can't take a stroll and go down the sidewalk.
I can't ride my rascal down the sidewalk because I can't get around the car parked on the sidewalk. I mean, there are legitimate reasons that cars are towed on a regular basis. A big one is fire lanes. Many streets in these communities out in the suburbs are fire lanes, not even fully wide streets. So you have to keep the parkers off of there.
Yes, you do. Well, there's so much more that I think we'd like to say, but we've got to take a break. So let's do that right now. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this tragic death that took place when someone had their car towed and it ran over them. More on Where You Live with Gene and Tony after these messages.